Good morning, everyone. I am just making sure that I am in the right place going live. Sorry for the way that we're going about it today. I love to be able to be facing my camera, but I had my phone plugged in charging, but it helps when the other end is plugged into an electrical source. So right now I've got wires everywhere so that my phone is charging. And that is why the orientation is a little different. So I'm just going to look at the computer here and say good morning to those who are popping in. Hi, Diane and Vesta, Janice, Nancy, Holly, Jasmine. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. If you're new, please let us know where you're watching from. Really, this is one of those projects that I'm really proud of. I can't wait to show you. Sometimes when you are trying so hard to make a project happen and it's just not coming together the way you want it, sometimes you need to go back to the basics. Take out all the foo-foo stuff and all the different steps and just start simple. And for me, it rejuvenates my creative process. So a lot of ideas came from getting back to the basics. But I think that you're going to love this because you don't have to have so many things. And your quilt block is going to be stunning. So I can't wait to show you. Hey, Amanda, hello. And Nancy's watching from Port Charlotte, Florida. Nancy, that's on the Gulf, right? I think my husband's been there. I think he's been to a Harley shop and got it when him and his brother rode their bikes over there. If I'm thinking of the right place, because I wasn't with them. Hi, Kathy. Hey, Linda. Linda, you've been crafting for Vacation Bible School? That sounds like so much fun. Gosh, I remember the days of Vacation Bible School. We actually had a bus that would come to our little town, pick us all up, and then drive us to the next town so that we could do Vacation Bible School and then take us back. Amanda, I was going to say something, but I thought, no, I won't say it. I'm glad that you're up and joining us today. Hey, Deborah. Okay, so yesterday I posted what you needed to gather for today. We're going to do some cutting together. But before we get started, I just want to mention that there's only a few days left. If there's any die bundles that you are interested in, die bundles are usually 10% off anyway. But if they're not part of a suite, those bundles are an extra 10% off. So it'd be a total of 20% off. So if you see any that you've been kind of wanting, I think 20% is a really good deal. So don't forget to place your order. I haven't placed mine either, and I've got a list. So, let's get started. Let's see, where do I want to go here? Okay, so the first thing that I had mentioned in what to prepare was 2 sheets of colored cardstock. I am using Peach Pie. The examples I'm going to show you after we're done, I did all 5 in colors. And they are so yummy. I can't wait to show you the cards in these colors. I think I want to make these 2 cards in every Stampin' Up! Color just to see what it's going to look like. That's quite a task, but it's not. This is really rather simple. If you got like a procession line going, you could do it rather easily. It'd be a good weekend project. And then I have a sheet of basic white. So what we're going to do, I have pieces that are already done, but I thought we would do some cutting together. If there's anybody new that's watching, I'm hoping that I have a few tips that might help you in your cutting, and then we'll get started. So we need 2 card bases. Well, you can get 2 card bases out of one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. You can cut it in half portrait mode and then score it in half, or you can turn it, cut it, and score it. But I want to show you that I score mine first so that I don't have to score twice. For this card, the length of the card base is going to be 4 1/4 by 11. Half of 11 is 5 1/2. So I'm going to do my score line first at 5 1/2. So I have this side of my cardstock over here at 5 1/2. This way I only have to score once. So I use the scoring blade. I scored once. Now when I turn it to cut it in half at 4 1/4, my score line is already done for both card bases. Okay, so that's how I did that. And then on the second piece of cardstock, we need 2 pieces that are 4 by 5 1/4 because we want to emboss those. So I am just going to put this in at 4. I'm going to cut it at 5 1/4. So there's 1, and then move this over to 5 1/4 and cut again. I am going to take my time during this live. I am not going to let myself rush myself. We're going to take our time, and because sometimes I get obsessed with how long things are taking, and I'm not going to care today. So these 2 pieces will get put in an embossing folder. I am using the Cute Crochet embossing folder, and I already have 2 of those done so I can show you them. So here are my 2 embossed card fronts. This is the embossed side. This is the debossed side. Nope, this is the embossed. You know what? They're so close, it's hard to tell which one is which. It doesn't matter. You decide what side that you want to use. Some embossing folders, it's very distinct. There's a lot of the pattern raised up off the paper, and that is your embossed side. And then if you flip it over, you'll notice that more of the pattern is recessed into the cardstock. That would be debossing. Okay, so we've got our 2 pieces of cardstock. I just have to make more cards, which is not going to bother me in the least because I love these 2 cards and can't wait to make more. With the sheet that was left over, you're not going to need the whole 11-inch strip, but it was just easier to explain to cut a whole strip off, and they're not big pieces, so not using them all. If you want to toss them, it's okay. So I'm going to do a strip that's 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch is 1/8 of an inch behind a 1/2 inch. No, yeah, 1/8. Yes, because a 1/16 is even smaller. So there's 3/8, and then I'm going to do a 1/2. And then I'm going to do 9/16. It's only 1/16 over a half. And you may be thinking that shouldn't make a difference, but in quilt cards, it does. A 1/16 of an inch, if you're trying to line up points, it makes a difference. Trust me. And so there's our 9/16 of an inch strip. Now, you'll notice these two right here are pretty similar in size. So you're going to want to keep those pieces separated when we cut them, because they look, they look so similar that you could grab the wrong piece. There's no mistaking the 3/8. This piece here, you can just use as scrap, because I have an option when we're putting our cards together that you could use that for, but it's not something that needs to be done right now. So while we're cutting, take your 3/8 of an inch strip, turn it, and you want 4 3/8 of an inch square. Yes, these are tiny pieces. Trust me, you're gonna love the block, and they are worth it, okay? Sometimes you just have to put yourself out there and do the little pieces if you can, because it just, they actually do make or break the pattern. So we have 4 of these. Set them aside. This is for our block A. We're going to do 2 different blocks. They start out pretty much being put together the same way. So you've got 4 of these for A, and for the B card, you need a 3/8 inch by 4 inch strip. So this is for B. I'm going to keep them separate. I got A and I got B. This is scrap. Make another card. Okay. 1/2 inch squares. We need 4 of these. Make sure that I got, yeah. We need 4 1/2 inch squares. And I want, go ahead and give your permission to have, if you go over the 1/2 inch a little bit, that's okay. Kind of want a chunky 1/2 inch, but you don't want 9/16. And I'll explain why when we do one of our blocks. This is also for block A. So we can go over that 1/2 inch line a little bit. And you need 4 of these. And if you stayed true to the 1/2 inch, that's okay. It's not something that you're gonna have to start over on. I was okay with just, it's all good, as Karen says. Karen Titus is my upline, and she always, it's all good. Don't have to be perfect in making cards. They're handmade, okay? So this 1/2 inch strip, that's left over. So we've got, all we need for block A are those 2 piles there. Block B, we've got this strip. Now we're going to come to the 9/16 by 11 strip. And we are going to do 8 of these. So cut 8 9/16 of an inch square. And that is 1 line beyond a 1/2 inch. I do have a PDF for today, so that will be ready to go a few hours after the live. And there's a ruler illustration in the PDF that shows you where the different 1/16 of an inch are on a ruler. So if you're not familiar, you can find them. So we have 4. We need 4 more. Actually, you only need 7, but whenever I'm cutting triangles, I cut an extra square because you never know if you're going to need it. If you don't use it, it's not that much paper that you're throwing away. But triangles can be tricky if you're off a little bit. So it doesn't hurt to cut another square. So of these 8, okay, so of these 8, 4 of them are going to stay square. And 4 of them, when we get to that block, we're going to cut. So I'm going to move my B block pieces out of the way. And I'm going to keep all the A pieces together. And while we've got the trimmer out, I want to bring in that piece of basic white. We need 2 card inserts that are 4 by 5 1/4. So let's cut a 4-inch strip, turn it, and cut at 5 1/4 to give us our card inserts. And now we need to create the bases for our quilt blocks. We need a 3 3/4 inch square, so I'm just going to cut 3 3/4, turn it, and do 3 3/4 again so it's square. That is for block B, and a 3 1/4 inch square, which is block A. The reason why our block bases are 2 different sizes is because it's based on the shape that I decided on for the cards. So this is A, this is B. For now, I think we can get the trimmer out of the way. And we need to draw our grid on our bases. And I had this in yesterday's instructions also. This sheet here, there's a photo of this sheet in the PDF. And what I did was I just made myself a template on grid paper that is, you've got your 3 3/4 inch square, and you have your 3 1/4 inch square. I drew my lines at 1.5 inches and 2 1/4 inches. I'm going to use this template to draw my lines because I'm going to use the squares that are on the grid paper to help keep me straight. I'm going to bring in a pencil and a ruler. And I'm just going to put the edge of my ruler up on the line that is at 1.5 inches. Slide it over. So this template already tells me where my lines need to be. And then I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to repeat drawing my lines. Again, we are drawing a straight line at 1.5 inches and 2 1/4. So your center square on your template should be 3 3/4 of an inch square. Okay, so that is for B. And now down here for A, I'm just going to lay my 3 1/4 inch square right on the template. This is 1 1/4 inch and 2 inches. So they're not the same. They're not the same widths coming in from either side of the square, but the center will still be 3/4 of an inch. And the reason why I did 2 different sizes is because I like to offer you options. Because a lot of us don't have all the things, and I want to be able to offer to someone who doesn't have, you know, like all the dies or things like that. I want to offer you a way to still make the block and it doesn't prohibit you from creating. If we're going to be using some circle dies and punches, but if you don't have those, you can still do this block square. You just cut down the squares to the size that you want. So here's A and B. So there will be this in the PDF. You'll still have to draw yours out. I did not scan it, and I don't know how to tell you how to scan to make things full size anyway, so get your grid paper out and just follow how to draw your own template on it, and then keep that for future use. Could someone post a length of the 3/4 inch? You mean the 3/8 of an inch strip, Linda? Because we had a 3/8 by 11, a 1/2 by 11, and 9/16 by 11. Sharon, I cut from the 3/8 inch strip. We cut 4 3/8 of an inch squares, 4 squares, and then a 3/8 by 4 inch strip. Okay. Hi, Jane. Hi, Josephine. Hi, Jean. Hey, Robin. I've been thinking about you and Tony. I need to call you and see what's going on. Hey, Jill. Hey, Debbie. Okay. Let's keep going. All right. Okay. Lost my train of thought here. Gonna set, let's start with block A. Now you're also gonna need a white eraser. Why white? Because they erase really clean. Sometimes pink erasers on the end of a pencil are not very good quality, and they smear all over the surface that you're erasing on, and I have found that the white erasers are nice and clean. So that's why I suggest that. Let's see here. Where's my block? Oh, my A pieces. Okay. So here's my A pieces. If you've got them, you may want to bring in your little tweezers here, and you're going to need some Tombow glue. This is a new bottle, so I'm going to have to be very careful. It likes to come out fast. What we're going to do is you're going to take your 4 3/8 of an inch squares. These are the small ones. Do you see how in the 4 corners of our base here, the inside corner on each one of those squares, you're going to glue down your 3/8 of an inch square right on in those inside corners. Okay? This is going to get us started. So that's where they're going to go. Now with these, I was going to say, I don't feel like I'm fumbling with my fingers, and then I drop the glue bottle. It's like, oh, sure, Julie. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of that. The reason why I don't want a lot of glue is I don't want it coming out from underneath the cardstock and getting all over the place. And I'm going to use my pencil lines to get me into that corner. Now I will probably be using my tweezers on the second block, because we're going to be cutting some smaller triangles, and it's just, you know, these reverse tweezers are like having extra fingers. It just helps you a lot. But for right now, I seem to do okay with these little squares. Okay, so hold your pattern up, and just, if the glue's still wet and you need to kind of wiggle some pieces into place, you've got time to do that with the liquid glue. A tape runner, glue dots, anything like that, you're pretty stuck the moment you put it down. Now that these pieces are done, I am going to erase my pencil lines. And the reason why I'm erasing my pencil lines now is that I don't want to get the pattern done and then I'm trying to get to the center of my block and I'm just like, I've kind of closed myself in and it makes it harder to erase. So I'm just going to now, because these 4 little peach pie squares, we're going to use them to determine where to put the rest of our pieces. So you can feasibly erase your lines now. If you don't want to and you want to wait, that's fine. But I find that when I back myself into a corner with the eraser, it actually was easier for me just to do that now. So let's just erase. And be careful that you don't shift your squares out of place. That glue hasn't actually adhered the 2 pieces together. That's pretty good. Okay. So now we're going to take those 4 1/2-inch squares, and these squares are going to go on point. On point means it's going to look like a diamond. And what I want to show you is when it's a diamond like that, what you're looking at, and this is what you want to do. You're looking for these 2 corners that are across from each other. You're looking for them to match up with the corners here of your squares. That's why we didn't really need those pencil lines anymore, because we're going to just put our points together. And you're going to do that all around your block and create your star that you're going to see forming in the center. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so those squares are going to be on point, and again, you're going to use your corners of those little squares to line up your 2 corners that are opposite each other, and you're going to glue those down. So again, I am just lining up my corners. And here's where, if I would have made these larger squares 9/16 of an inch, they could have been sitting on top of my 4 little squares. So I went with a 1/2 inch just to be safe. And I'm just gonna, if there's a little bit of a gap, on either side, I just want to even that out. It's not going to be so noticeable that it needs to bother you. Okay? But that 1/16 did make a difference for me here. And I just thought that it was better to be a little short than to be a little long. But if you cut that 1/2 inch just a little chunky, just like even a hair, then it seems to fit in place. But going to 9/16 of an inch was too much for this pattern. So, you know, sometimes you just got to make adjustments along the way. Okay, so there's that one and one more. And this block is going to be done. I told you we're keeping it simple. I'm not even going to emboss and put a quilt pattern into this block because I want to keep it clean. My embossing that I did for my card fronts is going to be my quilting. You do whatever pleases you, but this is what I am doing. So there is your first block for our cards. I'm going to set this aside for right now and let that glue dry. And I'm going to bring in my next block. I'm going to bring in my 8 9/16 of an inch squares. I'm going to take one of those squares and I'm going to cut it diagonally from corner to corner. And you can do this in your trimmer if you want, but the pieces are small and I can do them just as easily with my snips. So I'm going to cut them diagonally, and then I need to cut them in half again. I am going to do my triangles as I need them, because if I can keep my two pieces together, they already work together. Sometimes in my cutting, I'm off a little bit and I've got one side shorter than the other, or I just like to keep my triangles paired together because I just feel like they belong together. Okay. Now for this very first square, it doesn't really much matter if I keep them together, but beyond this, when we start creating our bow ties, then I want those two pieces to stay together. So just like we did in the first block, by starting here in these inner four corners, we are going to put our triangles. And your triangles are going to this 40, I think this is this 45 or 90 degrees? Anyway, the two short sides, this point is going to go right in the corner of those inside corners. So you don't want the long side going in there. You want these to tuck right into those corners. Okay, just like that. The first block we were working with full squares, and now we're just working with triangles. So that's how it's going to start out. So I am going to use my tweezers here. Just tuck them in. You don't need a lot of glue. And this feels so kind of odd because I don't have my square like right down in front of me. So I'm working away from myself, so it feels a little awkward. Okay, so see, now I'm having to like adjust my hand here, but that's okay. I'll get it. Okay, and then put this last one in, and again I'm gonna erase my lines at this point. I just needed to frame that center to make all of these pieces line up with each other. If you get a little bit of glue, just try with your thumbnail to get that off. And so now what we're going to do is we are going to use 4 of these squares whole. And we are going to do the exact same thing that we did with the last one. See, 9/16 of an inch is just a little outside of my comfort zone here. But if I have to, I'll just snug them right up to those points. It's one of those things that for me was a hit or miss. A 1/2 inch, I thought I had too much space. And here at 9/16, I'm feeling that it might be just a smidge too much, but if I have to, I'll just lay my points right on top of each other. I'll just lay them right on top of each other if I have to, trying to balance them out. But you're going to do like you did with the first block. I'll line up my points. Like that. I am going to smooth out both of my quilt patterns by putting a piece of paper over them and running them through the cutting plates just to put some pressure on them and smooth out the lines. So that's why I'm not really too excited about the fact that I'm overlapping my points here a little bit, because when I put them through with the rollers, it's going to smooth everything out. So yeah, I'm just not getting too excited at this point. Show yourself some grace. They're handmade. Make some notes if you want to about maybe these 4 squares being a chunky 1/2 inch. You could make a note of that. On the PDF, there is a note text box that you can make those kind of notes in for future projects. If you go back to this one, read your notes and see if there's anything, adjustments that you want to make. So you can write it down on a scrap piece of paper for now and then just transfer your notes to that box in the PDF. So there we have our star. Oh, you know what I was supposed to do? I was going to erase my lines. See how I boxed myself in a little bit here in the center? It's okay. I can still get in there and erase them. You guys know the feeling when you get going on your card and you start going through the motions and you're like, oh my gosh, I was supposed to do this, or I had wanted to do that. I know you get me. I know you get this part of it. So the inside was a little touchy to get in there with the eraser, but you can do it. Okay, I want to check comments just for a second. Hi, Linda. Hey, Beth. Right angles are 90 degrees. Thank you so much. Math wasn't my strong suit, and geometry definitely wasn't my strong suit. I enjoy learning about geometry now once I learned about quilting and things like that. But, you know, just back in the day, it wasn't what I excelled in. Karen, can I zoom in just a little bit? Okay, yes, I can if I can find the sweet spot. Okay, and then move. Is that better, you guys? You have to do it on your screen, and there's a sweet spot for on my phone. Is that better? Throw me some hearts if that's better. It looks better on the computer, but I just want to know. Because now I just have to switch things a little bit. Okay, we got some hearts. Thank you, Karen, for that suggestion. And thank you, Amanda, for telling me how to do it a couple weeks ago when she's like, oh my gosh, Facebook's letting us zoom in. Okay, so we've got our block started here. And I am going to go ahead and get rid of these lines because we're going to be putting some small triangles now out here outside of our block. And I think it's just going to be simpler. I can't even talk today. Just get rid of these pencil lines now. Just going to run that eraser right along the sides there and get right up to my pieces if I can. That might be an adhesive that I need to get in there and get. Yep. That was some adhesive that I tracked outside of the block. I want to be careful because I don't want to take any layers off of my cardstock. But that needs to be out of there before we get to the next step. So this is where I'm going to keep my triangles together, okay? I'm going to do them one at a time. Instead of doing them all at the same time and then getting them all messed up. You know, I find that it's just as easy if I take my time and I want to keep those two together, put them in that square. Cut these two, put them in that square, grab another triangle. And you should have one square left over because we cut, just in case we needed backup triangles, we had cut one more square. I'm going to keep those two together down here. And then these two together over here. They were cut together, so they should play well together. I'm going to turn my block on point just so it helps me see what I'm doing. And what we're doing is we're going to take these triangles, we're going to put the long side to the outside, we're going to put them right above this other triangle, and we're going to create little bow ties that are going to go above each one of these triangles that helped form our star. Okay, so that's what I am going to do now. Oh my goodness. I'm just trying to make it difficult for myself today. Okay. So I'm going to put that down. I'm lining up the straight side, the long side of my triangle with my long, with my square here. Oh, now I am feeling like I'm all thumbs. I'm gonna move. And I didn't press them down hard the first time until I saw if I needed to have some wiggle room to kind of move them around. And then I'm going to turn my block, and I'm just going to keep going around and putting our little bow ties there at the top. You also get a good look at how straight you were when you were putting your star together. But it's all good. Just a little bit of glue. A little bit of pressure to hold them down. And then just keep going around. It really does go by faster, you guys, than what I'm going right now. Right now in my head, I'm thinking about what I want to say, and my hands are wanting to just go, and just trying to keep myself slowed down. For those who are new to paper crafting and quilt cards, okay, I really got myself whopper jawed on holding this piece. Okay. But I just want to make sure that I'm reaching everybody on their levels of card making. If they're beginners, do they, you know, I know for those who have been doing it for a while, you're moving along probably at a pretty good clip. But I don't want to lose those who are just maybe trying for the first time. And my hands just want to go, go, go. I've already done this, let's see, 10, 12, maybe 14 times I've made this pattern since Monday, when I decided this is what the project was going to be for today. And just think, I want to go back and do this with every Stampin' Up! Color. That's 40 regular colors, right? 40 regular colors, 5 other in colors. But they will be stunning, trust me. Okay, I want to clean up that glue. You're going to want to clean up your quilt block with an adhesive eraser if you have one. Clean up any... So here's our quilt block for our second one. Okay, so that's the second quilt block, just a little bit fancier than the first one. So now that we have these, I am going to, what I told you, mentioned that I was going to do, I am going to take my cutting plates. I've got my machine set up for die cutting. I'm gonna set my squares on here. I am gonna put a piece of paper. I can lay this one on here. I'm gonna lay a piece of cardstock over the top, and I'm using white because I'm so afraid if it's color I might transfer the color onto the white. But I'm just going to run this through, and I'm not creating any texture. Don't worry about this here. That's not going to do anything to my block. But all I want is the pressure from the rollers in my machine to lay down the ridges that were on my quilt blocks, because we were putting, you know, gluing those pieces right on top. So what you can see is it has just smoothed out the quilt pattern. Oh, look what happened. I had some glue on there. Okay, I should have waited or checked. What I would do is I would cut out another triangle. I would glue it right on top of that one, give the glue some time to dry, and I would run it through again. I've already got some of these blocks done, so I'm not going to let this make me start over or get upset about it. But I would just put another triangle on top of that and run it through again, because it took a layer off of there. And that was my doing, because I had glue there and didn't let it dry. But that's how I smoothed out my pattern without creating any texture, was just putting a piece of paper on top of that and then running it through. Now, our blocks are not going to stay square. This is where it's a little different. I am going to use the 2 largest stylish shape dies. And what we're going to do, and I've already done it, but I'm just showing you here how I placed my circles around my pattern. Now, when you do this, I always like to use some Post-it notes. And I use the sticky part to hold my die in place. Don't get that sticky strip from your Post-it notes anywhere on your cardstock, because it's going to do what happened right here. It is going to pull the cardstock layer off. So just make sure that if you're using washi tape or whatever you use, don't get it on the cardstock. Put it in areas that is just the white. Okay, so once I ran that through, this is now what my quilt block looks like. It's actually a circle instead of a square. So we're doing something a little different. I guess now I can zoom. Let's see if I can zoom in. There we go. There we go. Now, if you don't have circle dies, for the small one or even the large one, you can use a punch. What you may have to do is cut off a little bit of the bottom so that your punch can get in there. Like our 2 3/8 inch circle punch would work on this small one. You might have to, see how you would cut off your points up here. You might have to shave a little bit off of the bottom so that you can get this in here and center it, but you can use a punch to get your circles also. And in your collection of punches, you may have one big enough to do the larger one. I don't have a circle punch that big, so I'm using the largest die, which happens to measure just about 3 inches. So anyway, we'll put these away, but that's what you're going to do. Now you can leave them square if you don't have circles. What I would do is I would trim this down to about 2.5 inches. So maybe start taking from the side, there's a 1/2 inch, maybe take 1/4 of an inch on all 4 sides and then see what you have. but you can just make your squares a little smaller. The reason why they're so big right now is because I needed to have room for my die to sit on there and I can run it through. Okay, so let's keep going. So we have our 2 quilt blocks. They're just in circle form. Let's start putting our cards together. Let's start with the simpler one. This one here for A. You're going to need one of your card bases. I'm going to fold it and just burnish that score line. I need a card insert. I need, and the 2 cards are different layouts, so don't go getting too far ahead of me, okay? I need my card front. If you want to, and I did, I took some designer series paper and put a layer on the back, and then what was left over I put across the bottom of my insert. Let me show you the finished card so you get an idea. Besides our one color for just the card base and our emboss layer, I brought in Smoky Slate because when I was cutting out my circle, I liked the color of the die with this, so I thought, oh, I'm going to go gray. And with the bow punch, I punched out 4 of the large leaf. Well, these would be the leaves. I think there's another little piece that I didn't bother cutting out. And then what I did was kind of mimic like an applique quilt. Where are all my... Okay, so kind of like an applique quilt. What I did was I took my greenery, use whatever greenery you have, pick what color you want to coordinate with whatever cardstock you chose. Doesn't have to be gray like I did mine. And you're just going to put them on a diagonal from each other. And you can glue these down full so that they're completely flat. What I did was I just put glue on the stem and the first 3 leaves to tack them down, and then left the top part of my leaf free so that it gives some dimension. So that's what I did to the outside. And maybe just to save time, I'll walk you how I did it. But remember, I said I wasn't going to. I was going to take my time. I didn't care how long it took. So I'll put that right there. Clean up that little bit of glue that shifted. And again, I'm just going to put them diagonally from each other. If you want these totally flat, then you're going to put glue on the whole piece. And I'm just imagining a line going to that other one. And I guess you could pay attention to what direction your leaves are going. If you want certain leaves to fall exactly in the same place as the one across from it. I noticed in my pictures that I took, I could tell that the leaves were not in the same place, but these seem to be going around right. I mean, it all depends on what your preference is and what look you're going for. I'm just giving you the idea, and then you can run with it and change it to how you want it to be. clean up any glue that you might have smeared on your cardstock, but be careful, be very gentle. You don't want to mar up your background there. And this one here, it doesn't matter that, oh, and look, this was one I had notes on. Because you're not going to see the back of it like we are when we do the next fun fold, I'm not worried about backing this with the same color cardstock. And really on the next card, you don't have to either. But I liked that you couldn't tell that there was two different colors of cardstock. So I did back it with another circle of the peach pie. But this is what's going to happen here. But I'm not going to put that down just yet. I am going to... We're just going, you know, peach pie on peach pie here. And I'm going to glue this down. I'm going to pop up the quilt block with dimensionals and put it right into the center. Of our card. So just flip it over. This actually was, I think, my template when I was making my notes on what I wanted to put in the PDF. Let's take the backs off. And I want my larger squares to be on point. You could put it down with your smaller squares on point. It's up to you. But I'm going to put that here in the center. Let me show you the finished card. What I did was I put a piece of Smoky Slate Designer Series paper on the back. It was a 4x6, and when I cut it at 4x5 1/4, it left a 3/4 inch strip. So I just put that across the bottom and stamped the sentiment. And then I added the basic gray and Smoky Slate pearls. I had them left over from when we did Card Play Retreat. And so I just finished it off with a little bit of bling, and I left it totally alone. I wanted just the quilt pattern between the block and the mimicked applique to be what was the attention on those. Okay, so that is card A. Let's move on to card B, because this is going to be an easel card. This is going to be a fun fold, but we're going to use the same base. But I need to add another score line here. So I'm going to bring back in my trimmer. And from one end, I want to score again at 2 3/4. Because 2 3/4 is half of 5 1/4. Or 5 and, let's see, 5 1/2. It's half of what 5 1/2 is. So 2 3/4. Whoops. My blade is a little, my scoring blade's really wonky. What did I do here? There we go. 2 3/4. Remember, you're only a score line away from making a fun fold. So now I have 2 score lines. I'm going to fold my card in half. That first score line was 5 1/2 inches. And then to make my easel, I'm going to fold this piece again, crease it, and this is going to be my easel card. And as far as our embossed card front that we already had done, we're going to cut this down because I'm going to put a panel here, I'm going to put a panel here, and then what is left, I am going to, remember this 3/8 inch piece by 4 inches? I'm going to glue that embossed 1/4 inch strip right on top of here, and it's going to become the stopper for our easel card. So what I want to do is I want to take this embossed piece. I'm going to have the long side across the top, and I need 2 pieces that are 2.5 inches because they're going to go inside the panels that I created when I created the easel. Okay, so I've got those 2, and I've got that skinny little strip there. That's gonna be my stopper. I didn't want to throw it away, you guys, and I wanted to get a little creative. Am I missing anything? Okay, I don't want to get too caught up. I want to answer your questions, but I also don't want to get too far behind here either. So while we've got this little piece here, I'm going to run just a bead of glue across the center of that 3/8 inch strip, and I'm carefully going to put this on top. The reason why I'm using that 3/8 strip is because when the pressure of the plate just kind of flattens out your cardstock when you emboss, making it feel very thin and not very sturdy. So by doing this, it's just creating some stability to my stopper. And then I'm going to place mini dimensionals on the back of that. But here I'm going to take my 2.5 by 4 inch panels, and I'm going to glue them to the card front, so to speak. We have a score line in there, but each one of those is going to go in those panels. Okay. So once we do this, then I'm going to show you how I finished. I'm going to show you the finished card, because it's just a matter of putting your greenery down and finishing it off. But I want to give you the gist on how the fun fold goes together. So just center that. And this is our card base, our card front. We just put that score line in there to create our little tent for our easel. Okay. I'm going to take my card insert, which is 4 by 5 1/4. I want to make sure that I didn't grab a piece that was too big. Now, before I put this down, and before I would put my back on here with the designer series paper, I could cut out another circle, because I am going to put a backing on this one, because you're going to see the part of the back, and I didn't want it to be white. I wanted it to match my cardstock. But instead of having to do that on an extra scrap of paper, you could take it from here, because we're covering the back and the inside, if you want to be frugal with your cardstock. I have so many pieces of scrap laying around that I just grab from my scrap bin and punch or die cut whatever shape I need. But if you're thinking ahead and you remember that you can take it from here before you add your layers, do that. I mean, it makes perfect sense. So on the finished card, let me show you the finished card. This is what I did. I only used 2 of my bows, and I put them in the corners here on the right hand side. I did attach, here's that circle, to back my quilt block so that it matched the color here. And I only put dimensionals on the side that was going to get stuck down to the front of my card. You don't want dimensionals here. Okay. And then the designer series paper, I put my backing, I put that 3/4 inch strip on the bottom, stamped my sentiment. But this is where my stopper's going to go. So I'm going to put some mini dimensionals on the back of it. You know, you can use whatever kind of a stopper you want for your easel card. You don't have to do it this way. I was just trying to, you know, challenge myself to use as much of the pieces that I cut as possible, just to see what I could come up with. It was just a test, and I like how it turned out. But you might have other ideas, and that's your ideas is what inspires the rest of us when we see them. And be like, oh gosh, I didn't think I could do that, but yeah, I like that idea, and I'm going to save it for the next time. So I am going to come up maybe about halfway. It depends. I'm going to gently lay that down because I want to make sure it's straight. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I did that the first time. It may be a little off, but I can't tell that much. So I'm going to just go ahead and put it down. And then if your easel card keeps flipping up like that, crease this halfway point again. See how it laid it down, and then it will fall right into line with your stopper. And then by putting, now since I'm going to put this back on, I want my stitching to be on the outside. So I'm going to glue. This also gives this quilt block some stability by putting, because basic white cardstock is not that thick. So this is going to give my quilt block some stability. And then I got a little bit of white showing. You can put that at the bottom so that it doesn't show. But I would put dimensionals on just the bottom half after I put my greenery in, or you can do it vice versa, so that when your easel card, your quilt block's actually popped up. Can you see how it sticks up from the easel part of your card? And so you just finish it off like you want. So there's the finished card for block B. And let's bring in, was this the finished one for A? No, that was the one we did. Yeah, here's A. A and B quilt blocks. And you're just letting the quilt block be the focal point. You can always put your sentiments on the inside or somewhere else. But there's our easel. And then there's the inside of A. Okay, now I know we're running a little over, but I want to show you the other colors. I did the new in colors. So we've got the peach pie, shy shamrock, pretty in pink, petunia pop, and summer splash. Look how pretty these quilt blocks are. I am beside myself. These are all the easel cards. Aren't they so pretty? And I kept the Smoky Slate as my gray. It doesn't show up as well on some of the colors, but in person they really do. And then the A card, let's bring in our A card. Here's the peach pie. And again, here's our other 4 colors. This is one of the designs that I've come up with that I am very proud of. I'm just tickled about how these turned out. And I know this will be a go-to for me in my quilt card making, because I could make up all of these circle quilt blocks ahead of time and just grab them as I need them for future projects. And really, you guys, the quilt block itself is very easy to piece together. And you could do all of your piecing at the same time, and then all of your die cutting the circles in a row, and you could just really knock these out. But the quilt block itself on both of these is very easy. I just, I get tired of squares, and I thought, how can I change this quilt block up? And I'm like, well, let's make it round. And so it gives us another option on how we want to do our quilt blocks. So here's what I want to do. I want to give 2 cards away for the live. So if you want a chance at winning a card, type the word peach pie, because I have a lot of peach pie cards done because they were my prototypes as I was going along. So the keyword is peach pie. Now, I want to give those who can't be live a chance to participate. And you might want to go back and watch replay. But for those who are catching replay, I want you to type in, because I'm going to give this, the 2 live ones, within the next hour, I'm going to choose the winners for the live. Well, as soon as this live ends, I'm going to note the time, and only those who have commented during the live will be in the first drawing. If you go back and watch replay, then I want you to type in the word peach pie replay, so I know who to pull from those comments in the next 24 hours and give 2 other people a chance to win cards. So I have a total of 4 cards to give away, 2 now, and 2 in the next, after 24 hours, to give people time to watch the replay and participate also. I do have a PDF. I'm going to give Facebook time to post this video, because I like to put the link in the PDF. That way, when you're reading the PDF on your computer, if you want to pull up the live, you just click the link at the top of the PDF, and it should take you to the Facebook Live. That way you can kind of have the 2 hand in hand, okay? So there will be a PDF coming, shortly. And then tonight I will upload the live to YouTube. So thank you for hanging with me a little longer than normal today. I can't wait to see what your cards look like. So please post pictures over in the group, Quilt Cards and More. It's the private community where PDFs are uploaded and where you can get the inspiration from those who did the project. You can see what they did differently, how different color changes things, or even the designer series paper. So you're going to want to be a part of that group. It's awesome. And that's it, you guys. Have a very blessed day. Message me with any questions you have, and I will go through the comments later and hopefully get some things caught up for you. Okay? So everybody have a happy Thursday. I will see you Saturday night if you're doing the Barn Quilt card kit. Saturday night, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to put the June Barn Quilt together, and I am going to reveal this is June. I'm going to reveal the block for July. Okay? So I'll see you Saturday night, but I'll see you online in the group over at Quilt Cards and More, and here shortly, okay? Have a blessed day, everybody.